When we actually started to look at the clients that we were most successful with, and we started noticing a lot of engineering rings. And it turns out, probably 150 of the clients that we work with are engineers.
I'm Dan Richards. You may know me from my regular column in the Globe and Mail Report on Business. I'm talking today with Rob McClelland with the McClelland Financial Group in Thornhill. And Rob, we're going to talk today about the kinds of clients you serve, how you serve them, and a particular focus you bring to working with engineers. Before we get into that, some quick background on your time in the business?
Absolutely. Went to University of Western Ontario. I graduated from the Ivey Business School there. Then I spent about 6 years with Hudson's Bay Company. And for the last 20 years, I've been helping Canadian investors with their finances.
And specifics on the kinds of clients you work with?
Very diverse client base. Although we found over the last few years, we've developed a bit of a specialty in working with engineers. Probably about a third of our clients have an engineering background.
And why do you think that is? What led to that focus on engineers?
Dan, it just sort of happened when we actually started to look at the clients that we were most successful with, and we started noticing a lot of engineering rings. And it turns out, probably 150 of the clients that we work with are engineers.
And so that happened, it sounds like, somewhat accidentally. Were there some specific things though that drove that also?
Absolutely. We're very detailed. We're very process-orientated. We basically have a strategy that is not completely foolproof, but a strategy that's going to last. And engineers are building things to last. That's their objective.
Now, it's interesting, Rob. You talk to advisors generally, and many of them would say they actually don't like working with engineers. Why do you think that is?
I think at the beginning of the relationship, when you start working with an engineer, it can be overwhelming. There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of details they want to know. They want to know everything, and it scares a lot of advisors off. What we've found is that is true in the first year, but once they get comfortable with you, that you've got a process, they tend to relax and let you do your job.
You've mentioned your process. Tell me a little bit more about how that works, Rob.
We start off with a comprehensive financial plan. I believe every investor needs a full comprehensive financial plan. It's cash flow based. Basically, we're trying to map out the next 20, 30, 40 years of their life, and we put that plan in place.
And the specific goal of that financial plan?
It's basically to provide peace of mind for the individual that they're going to have a plan in place to be able to retire at a certain date and have enough ongoing income to last the rest of their life.
Now, you mentioned investments. That's part of what you do. Could you talk specifically about what your approach on the investment component of a plan looks like?
We start off, we have our clients do an online survey, risk profile, and we have them do it themselves, husband and wife. We get the scores back. That tells us what they're going to be like as investors. From there, we develop an investment policy statement, basically a blueprint that's going to outline how we're going to position their investments, what are their income requirements, what are their liquidity requirements, what's their risk profile, etc.
And are there particular types of investments that you favor for client portfolios?
We've tended to move to a more passive approach. We believe that it's by trial and error. I've spent the last 20 years trying to figure this out. Great question. What's the right strategy? My belief is you keep your costs low, you stay very diversified, and that's led to our plans starting to work for our clients. And that if we have a high success rate with the investments, that means we're going to have a high success rate with the financial plan working.
And how about ongoing communication? Let's suppose that I was a prospective client. We were talking about perhaps working together. Maybe I'm an engineer, and I have, let's say, $500,000. What kind of ongoing communication could I expect from you and from your team?
Dan, I believe the best use of my time as an advisor is actually spent in front of my client. If I'm not meeting with my clients on a regular basis, I don't feel like I'm part of their life, and therefore I'm not really helping them financially. What we try and do is see our clients 2 to 4 times a year, each meeting lasting about 60 to 90 minutes.
And what kinds of things do you cover in those meetings?
In advance of the meeting, what we do is we send out a detailed checklist of all the possible areas that might affect their financial lives. Client sends it in ahead of the time. But we also have a detailed process we call my dashboard that we use that basically keeps us on track for all the areas that we do know we need to cover for those clients.
And so those would be things like what, for example?
We start off, what are their goals? We have a process where we go through their goals every 3 years. We have a second thing called the investment strategy. We do the risk profile. We develop an investment policy statement. We have something called portfolio x-ray, where we do a detailed analysis of what their portfolio is. Also estate planning, tax planning, saving for children's education, and something we call the safety net, which is life insurance.
And what if clients can't meet face-to-face?
We've actually got clients right across the country, and so we've had to develop a process that we use, and what we do is a service called Go to Meeting. And basically what it is we send the client in advance of the meeting a link that they go to. They put in a specific ID that we give to them. We call them over the phone. We've now got them on the phone, and they are actually logged into our computer screen. They can't, of course, do anything with it, but what we're able to do is we're able to do a normal presentation to that client in the comfort of their home, cottage, or maybe at work.
Rob, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.